Welcome to Module 5. I want to start with a demonstration to show the importance of an annual agreement in your relationship with your principal. This jar represents the role you have in the school. The sand represents what your principal could ask you to do in a typical day as a school counselor. He could ask you to enter student schedules into the computer, help out with lunch duty, count state tests, file CAs. As you can see, the jar can become pretty full when your role is not clearly defined. These pebbles represent what you need to be working on. Calling back parents, setting up meetings with teachers about grades, updating your website, calling down students that signed up to see you, and writing letters of recommendation for college applications. And before you know it, the jar is almost full. The golf ball represents your program. You need to set up your advisory council, run small groups. But now it is full, and you do not have time to do all you need to do. So let's start again. This jar represents the 11 components of the ASCA national model. The jar is pretty full, but you still need to be working on calling back parents, setting up those meetings with teachers about grades, updating your website, calling down students that signed up to see you, and writing those letter of recommendations for college. Now your principal asks you to do lunch duty, and now the jar is full. This is where you have the leverage to tell your principal, this is everything I'm doing. What would you like me to eliminate? Your annual agreement, along with following the ASCA national model, gives you leverage to say no to tasks that take away from your role and program. You determine your program. Now let's take a look at the annual agreement. You will find that the template is 3 pages, and you will be filling in the template based on the ASCA national model from the website. Each counselor in your building fills out their own annual agreement, so some of it will be similar, but there will be parts that are going to be different, and that's what the RAMP application is looking at. So for the first part, for your mission statement, you're going to take that from Module 2 and put this into this area. Same for your program goals, you're just going to take from Module 3 and transfer them into this area. Now your use of time, if you look on page 136 in your ASCA book, it will show you based on elementary, middle school, and high school, what's the recommended percentage of time. You are going to be taking from your use of time assessment, which I'm going to just show you an example right here. This is also provided by ASCA, so you can see that you will be filling in this by completing one of these use of time assessments during the school year. This is exactly what you're going to be doing for your fall and spring weekly calendar, so you could use that to transfer. This template has already programmed in Excel, so if you, for instance, put that in as 1, it's going to automatically calculate it for you. So this template already has, as long as you are putting in, documenting it, it'll assess the time. Then you're going to just transfer this into your use of time onto your annual agreement. This is also a good place to talk with your principal about activities that could be eliminated, like in our demonstration of the empty jar. You need to make room for the golf balls and pebbles. So show your principal your calendar, and then you can refer also to page 45 in your ASCA book for inappropriate activities, such as lunch duty, bus duty, filing CAs, etc. Now looking down at advisory council, you simply put in the dates. So there at least has to be 2 dates for your advisory council. Under planning and results documents, you're going to just check each area that you have of the documents that are completed, if this is your ramp year, all of these should be completed. I like to also include all of these documents in a packet that I give to the principal, so they can look at it at their leisure, or you can refer to them as you meet with your principal to go through all of your documents. Under professional development, you're going to list all of the areas that you plan to attend in this area. And then under professional collaboration responsibilities, you're going to put in if you meet weekly or monthly, who coordinates it, and you can also kind of update this or add to this. So I'm just going to show you an example of an annual agreement. This is from the ASCA website examples, so you can see how she's filled hers in, put in professional development, and then where we're at professional collaboration, she put in weekly, monthly, bi-monthly, and she added here. So you can just kind of get an example of how that may look. Okay, back to budget materials. You're going to just put what's planned, what you may need, and sometimes, like for instance, in our school, we didn't really have a budget. But if we knew we were doing groups and we needed different things, we would just list that here and hopefully have those covered. Under school counselor availability, you're just going to put, fill that in, your office hours, when you're open, and if you have a career center, that as well. Role and responsibilities of other staff and volunteers. This is where you would put in anybody that supports the role that you have. And I just want to show you an example from another annual agreement. So for instance, their career resource specialist, the counselor listed all of the different things that they do to support the school counselor. So they have an assessment coach, so anything that supports your role. If you have a secretary, a career counselor, advisor, anything, transcript, so you can see all the different volunteers and support staff and what their responsibilities are to help out your program. Also, it says and responsibilities in your ramp application. You can write about that, but what I like to do is to include those responsibilities here so the principal can see those. So I'm just going to show you an example of how we attached this document. So we had all of our responsibilities, but then we separated. So we had 4 counselors, and we just showed what different responsibilities we were responsible for as for each person. And then we also attached our master calendar, so our principal could visually see everything that we are doing, so that when he was going to ask us to add more things, we could say, well, what would you like us to take out? And that is the leverage that you have with this annual agreement and following the ASCA national model. After this agreement has been completed, you will want to set an appointment with your principal within the first 2 months. So I'm going to show you the rubric, which we're going to be using. And for an exemplary annual agreement, it will include these 4 areas. It's thorough in scope of your work and reflects your scope of work. Your percentage of time aligns with the recommended percentage from page 136. It reflects your vision, mission, and goals, and was signed within the first 2 months. The annual agreement provides you an opportunity to show your principal exactly what you do as a school counselor. How can you fill your jar with golf balls and pebbles instead of sand?